Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's video with me, Gail from Sober Bliss. I say this week's video, I realise it's been, 4 or 5 weeks since I last did a video, and that's because, well, you can probably tell from the title of this video that we've had a bit of a crisis here at home. 4 weeks ago, my husband had a stroke, and it was a shock, a warning, a real shock. Everything completely changed, is still changing, and to be honest, I'm not quite sure if I have fully processed it properly yet. I think it's going to take a long time. However, in the 4 weeks since it's happened, things have already changed a lot, and I just want to say that it was quite a mild stroke. It was definitely a warning that something had to change, and I'll probably do a video a bit later on about exactly what that looks like. And he's doing much better than he was. He's improved such a lot, and we are extremely grateful and consider ourselves to be extremely lucky, because it could have been so much worse. And because of that, what happened, we really appreciate every single moment that we have, and I'm going to talk a little bit about gratitude in a moment. So that's where I've been. I've still been here, but not here, if you know what I mean. We've been coping, we've been managing, we've been learning and getting through the past 4 weeks together. And I wanted to share with you in this video some of the things that helped me cope with, what happened, some of the things that helped me get through the days, and obviously stay sober. I just want to say that there was never any danger of me wanting a drink, needing a drink, turning to alcohol in any shape or form. My mantra, as you may remember right from the very beginning, was I am not drinking no matter what. So, and this is a kind of scenario that I didn't expect, but it falls into the no matter what category. So no matter what happens, I am just not drinking. And that's really helped me over the past 4 years. And considering that there was temptation in the hospital even, I don't know if you know this about Spanish hospitals, but they serve alcohol quite freely in the hospital cafeterias. So there was red wine, white wine, rosé, beers, different strength beers, all there, available at lunchtime, dinner time, if that's, what somebody chose to do in the hospital. So it was quite strange. Thankfully it wasn't triggering. I knew anyway that it's part of the culture here. So there was never any danger of me being tempted or anything like that. However, there were still things to cope with. Obviously, a massive shock. In a moment, your life changes completely. Even though the stroke that he had was mild, thankfully, it still changed everything. Our life now looks absolutely nothing like it did before. So there's a lot of coping and managing and dealing to do. And in the beginning, to be honest, I didn't really kind of intentionally turn to any tools in particular. I don't know if that makes sense, but when something happens, something like this happens, I think something just kicks in and you just manage, don't you? You just cope. You make the phone calls, you organise people. I had 2 boys to, find somewhere for them to be and manage, and all of those kind of practical things. So you just do it. I'm not quite sure how I managed to do all of that at the time, but I did. And then we were in hospital together for 9 days. My husband was there for 11 days. I was in there with him for 9 days, which, again, I don't know what other health services are like, but here in Spain, depending on where you are, in which ward, for example, one relative can stay with the patient throughout their stay in hospital. So I was there for 9 days. And there was not much time for any of the tools that I'm going to talk about in hospital. They're not restful places. They are very noisy and exhausting and tiring, and they're like a little universe of their own, their own little world, and you get used to the come-ins and go-ins, the routine. And so I didn't do any of my usual kind of coping mechanisms. I went in and I thought, yeah, I'm going to listen to podcasts, I'm going to do journaling every day. I did none of it. I listened to Audible, I think, at night time when I couldn't sleep. But I think it took me 4 or 5 days to even get my notebook out and start jotting a few things down, because you're just swept up in the whole daily life of being in hospital. So my coping tool in the beginning was just being in the moment, going with the flow, and accepting and embracing what was going on. And that is one of the things I've written down, and I'm still doing that. I think if you try and fight against a certain situation, and I had a lovely chat with one of my clients about this the other day, it makes it so much more difficult. If we'd come back home, grumpy or annoyed, or, not agreeing with what we had to make, the changes we had to make, then it would have been so much more difficult and frustrating and upsetting and annoying, and life's too short to be fighting against those kind of thoughts and feelings. So my number one tool, especially in the beginning, was acceptance and embracing what was going on, and just taking every moment as it was, not worrying about what's going to be like when we get home in 6 months' time. Where will we be? What about even next week? Nothing like that. We just have to go with the flow and embrace the moment and live in the moment. And that is something that we talk about a lot for sobriety in general. There's no point in kind of reminiscing about the past. Oh, what about when I used to, I don't know, sit in wine or beer gardens all afternoon, or what about next week when I've got a wedding, or next month when I'm going on holiday. I think in early sobriety, and when something like this happens, you just have to stay in the moment and take each moment as it comes, and accept that this is what it's like at the moment, right now. This is how it is, so let's just go with it. So that was really, really helpful in the beginning. That didn't really have much choice, to be honest, so there's no point in fighting against it. You just have to go with the flow. The next thing I want to talk to you about is gratitude. This is a massive topic, and I certainly didn't in hospital spend hours, journaling and really going into detail with my gratitude practice. It simply was waking up every morning and being grateful to be here, my husband especially. And I'll put a link in this video, because he's written a blog post from his point of view about his own, experiences, and gratitude figures quite heavily in that, because it really was, and still is, to be honest, tuning in to the small, simple, everyday things, and just being grateful to be alive. And it might sound, quite extreme, but like I said before, life can change in an instant, in a moment, and it could have been so much worse than what it actually was. And the fact that he's still here is no small thing. So we're extremely grateful for that, and it is worth starting your day tuning into the fact that you're alive. And I don't say that lightly, because it's important to acknowledge the good things in life. So if you don't do anything, if you don't take anything away from this video, just take that away. That when you wake up in the morning, just be grateful that you're there. Okay. The next thing, I wanted to mention was sleep. Now, it'll come to no surprise to you at all that you can't sleep in hospitals. I was on a chair, it was reclining. In theory, it would have been comfortable, but it wasn't. It was awful. So there was no sleep to be had in hospital at all. However, sleep is hugely important in physical, mental, emotional recovery. So when we got back, we just loved sleeping. And we still do. There's no more early mornings, no more 5 o'clock starts. We take our time and we lie in and we make sure that we both get as much nourishing sleep as possible. And that kind of ties into my other point, which is slowing down. One of the things that we've had to do, and because we're physically so tired actually with the whole recovery, is we've had to just slow down and take every moment as it comes and not rush and take our time. And that is combined with getting outside in nature, which, as you know, is my number one tool for everything. Really, really helping. You know, if we want to take a slow walk to the woods, we will. If we want to sit in the woods and have a cup of tea or coffee or make lunch, then we will. There's no rush, no stress. Everything is just as it should be, as it's meant to be, right here, right now, in the moment. And there are other tools that I will probably continue to use and turn to and come back to as and when needed. But at the moment, these are the things that are really helping me stay here, stay sober, stay relatively, calm and clear and happy, I think. We are quite happy to be where we are right now, and I think that is the main thing. So thank you so much for listening, letting me ramble on. I hope that you found this useful. If you've got any questions, any comments, please get in touch. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.